Welcome to the third class in the series on the Alchemy of Life. And Diane's going to start us off with an original poem that she wrote.
A zillion flowers. I saw a twinkling in your eye when I said I asked my cat for the next dance. It seems all my fears have gone away and left me square in the middle of life's radical blessings. Sure, I bat them away at times, making excuses, claiming I'm not worthy, but then a zillion flowers open right in my front yard to scream at me God's passionate love. Tell me if your pain or fear arises. Let us conspire together to turn it inside out, or shake it silly until all its elegant meaningfulness spills out, landing us home in God's heart where we belong.
So in our last class, we talked about ways to recognize when we're not in a proper condition for this experience of alchemy to take place. And that included feeling judgmental, feeling reactive, withdrawing, and so on. And we talked about, well, what are some things we can do? How can we get ourselves into harmony and attunement? And today we're going to explore what happens in that state of alchemy and how to recognize that and how to operate within that. But before that, there's a question that arises. And that question is, well, why should we engage in this process of alchemy in the first place? You know, why not just go on about our business, taking care of our day-to-day tasks and so on, enjoying things? And the answer to that is, according to the Sufis, the creation began because the divine was a hidden treasure desiring to be known, to love, and be loved. And that could only take place through the results of the relationship with everything in manifestation, including us. And so it's said that the divine knows of his, herself, only through the wisdom accrued through everything in existence, again, including each one of us. So that's one answer to the question, that we are helping to fulfill our own unique divine purpose by engaging in this process of alchemy, by furthering the process of the awakening and the evolution of divinity in life. And an ancient term for engaging with this process and helping to further it is dharma, D-H-A-R-M-A, which many of you are familiar with that term. It means purpose or duty and so on. And we might think of, well, that's just something predetermined. We're supposed to just tune in and figure out what God wants us to do. But that's just the starting point of it. We're going to be talking today about desire. And Hazrat Khan says that every desire begins with the divine impulse, but that impulse gets distorted all the way down to when it becomes conscious with us. But so part of that is aligning ourselves with that original desire, but another part is furthering what can take place with that desire. So that initial desire was never meant on the part of the divine to be a finished blueprint. If it could have been a finished blueprint, then there wouldn't really have been much purpose in having a creation. So imagine I give you this huge library of thrillers and mysteries and so on, but you always know how things are going to turn out. Not too interesting, right? And so there has to be that element of it isn't known, it's not possible to be known what's going to come from this, but each of us contributes to what can emerge from this, and alchemy is the way that this takes place.
So we've mentioned the idea of creativity being an important element of what's going on with this process. And often we think, well, that's my fun, that's the time when I relax, and yes, it's all that, and at the same time, it's a time that something is awakened, something is born that has a vibration, you could even say, that that is part of everything. So you might say, well, I put something up on the wall and I don't think anybody's noticed that, but it doesn't even matter if anybody physically has seen it. It is something that's entered in through your own heart to what is in creation. So it's that we have an opportunity to be a part of the original creation, the creation that created everything. And I think all of you have had impressions when you've looked at people's art that you go, I see what they were saying here, and this color reminds me of this, and there's different things that happen in there that nobody's telling you this. There's not anything written down, but it's happening through our own hearts, and we can work through our own hearts to put something into this entire creation that wasn't there originally.
And we've spoken before about alchemy cannot take place if we are in a separated state of consciousness, if we're feeling this is me and this is everything else, and so I want to bring about a change. Well, there's certainly some changes we can make in the external environment and in the world, but there's a limit on what's possible with that. And much, much more can take place if we experience the relationship that we're having that occurs between ourselves and what we're experiencing. So as I've said before, the original way that I said it was everything is a portal to the sacred, like an opening to the sacred. But a more refined version of this is in every circumstance, in every situation, and at every moment, we are always at the threshold of the possibility of emergence of something coming through that's much more than what was possible before. And what we open up into is a world of sacredness. It is a world in which we experience the fruit of whatever quality is coming through. So it could be beauty, looking at a flower, it could be compassion, it could be joy, whatever that is. But through this relationship, what's possible to unfold through that quality becomes much, much more than it was before. So so we're talking about, well, why engage in alchemy? And I've said a bit about this. But the next question is, well, what's the fuel that drives us in this process of engaging in alchemy? Because if we're just on autopilot and we're just responding to what's going on, well, that's okay. It's nice to come to a state of balance or whatever, or see a different point of view. But again, that's still pretty limited. If we can come to a much fuller, deeper state of being with what's going on, then once again, the possibilities of what can arise are much more. So what's the fuel? From our perspective, the fuel is desire. Okay? And where does that desire come from? Well, a lot of it comes from within our own being. If we're wanting to create something, we have a desire to make something beautiful, whether it's art or music or poetry or something coming through in something that we write or sing or whatever that might be. So there's that desire. But we're going to explore a bit what we could call different directions of desire. So that's one, it's coming from within. I would like to bring something forward here that wasn't there before. And we've had previous series of classes about what helps to further the creative imagination, that it's not going to happen if you're just cycling around with what you've already known and your data bank of previous experiences. It requires an openness to something new coming through. And we've all experienced that when we get that spark of inspiration. So that's one direction of desire. You want to say some more about that?
No, continue.
Okay. Well, another direction of desire that is oftentimes the motivation for us undertaking any spiritual path is we want to know, and we can fill in the blank, we want to know God. We want to know the deeper nature of reality. We want to know the transcendent. We want to know the mystery. We want to know the deeper wisdom of existence. And so there's a desire to hook up between our frame of reference and manifestation with one that's transcendent to that. We're wanting to tap into something that seems higher or above, and we want to come to a place where there's a meeting between those two sides in order for this process of alchemy to take place. So that's the second. I'm just going to briefly highlight these, and then we'll later on do a practice to experience these a bit more. Well, another one is, well, we would like to discover how the divine manifests in existence. I would like, those mystics and great religious beings say, well, everything is God, all is one, and then we look around and say, some of it doesn't look very pretty, or some of it's not very, what are you talking about? But how can we see past the surface appearance of things? How can we, and we did a little practice last time, the second class, about seeing with the eyes of the divine, not just seeing with our usual modality of perception, and that way of seeing helps to open up things in a way that wasn't there before. And the last direction would be something that's pulling this desire from us for more expression. So we can have it like it's sort of being pushed from within. I want to create, and going upwards, I want to experience the divine. The divine's wanting to experience me. That's another one. But the last one is everything in existence is wanting to experience the uniqueness of the divinity that's present in each one of us. And so it's drawing forth, it's calling on us to bring forth an expression of something that can only come through us, so that the divine can be seen and known in a way that wasn't possible before. So all these different ways you can think of desire, the Sufi term is ishq, I-S-H-Q, are operating. So this is kind of like the current, the fuel that helps to drive us in this process of alchemy and a never-ending process of the evolution of everything in existence.
I think you've got a complete idea here. Why don't you continue that?
Okay, well, there's a practice I wanted to do with it.
Okay.
And Hasranat Khan gave these simple little phrases to do that are very beautiful and powerful. And one of them is, pour upon us thy love and thy light. And you put your arms upwards, and you're asking the divine to pour upon you God's love and light. So let's do this 11 times and feel like you're really opening to experiencing what you're asking for. Pour upon us thy love and thy light. 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 And once more. Pour upon us thy love and thy light. And relax for a moment. So that one's pretty easy to think of and feel. We're just receiving that grace and that beautiful light that comes from the subtle realms pouring down through our being. But there's another direction of this, which is the flip side that we probably don't usually think about or tune into. So we're longing for this experience of the divine, but simultaneously the divine is longing for the same experience of us. The divine is longing to experience the divine's own being through the way life is experienced and related to uniquely in each one of us. So we're going to do this prayer again, but this time as we have our hands upward, imagine that it's God saying this prayer, and you are responding to this prayer of God, and you're sending upwards your love and light, which has been transformed from the light that created you through all your experiences in life, all your joys, your sorrows, your insights. Okay, so say it again and again. You're experiencing God's receiving what you're offering. And it's God, imagine God is saying the prayer as we say it, but you are sending this light up. Pour upon us thy love and thy light. 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 Once more. Pour upon us thy love and thy light. And relax. So that has a different feel, but the two directions of this together, can you feel like something has changed? I mean, the energy, just what I can experience, feels like it's been stepped up. It feels like it's kind of hard to put words on it, but things have become clarified. And there's more of an ease of circulation of what's happening in both directions. So this might be a good place you can share.
Yes, exactly.
And then we're going to do this two more directions after this. But yeah, we'd like to hear from you. What did you experience so far, or what struck you with anything that we've said, or questions that come? Yes.
I always feel like I want to understand my inner knowing. And I know the unknown is known to me. So I use breath, I use mantra, I use singing, I use movement to make that connection. And understanding my inner knowing, it's endless, you know, and it just evolves and comes through and changes. And, you know, sometimes I can't get there, and other times I'm like, ah, you know, I'm just full. So, yeah, that's kind of my thought.
Can I piggyback?
Yeah.
Because that is so beautiful, and it seems that like your enthusiasm for it, you know, you're kind of having to imagine the enthusiasm of the divine wanting it, you know. Mm-hmm. That's kind of an unusual place that we don't always get in. The giving more enthusiasm to the divine for what we are offering is like, well, you know, just little old me, but, you know, and I'm having fun with this, but as far as changing everything, but I hear it in what you're saying, and that's such an important element of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a calling and a drive, if that makes any sense.
That makes what?
It's a drawing and a calling. I said, if that makes any sense, because it's both.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It felt beautiful to me, kind of like a flash of your life, of my life, and that any love or pain or unrequited love, like everything made sense. Like it was turning into something good. And right before I came here, I was listening to a meditation, which I wanted to say, because it turned everything the other way too, kind of how this did. It said, you know how we're told, love your neighbor as yourself. They said, what if you're the neighbor, and you know, what if everybody's loving you? And it kind of, and I was like, oh, this is just like a continuation of that. And anyway, it's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gail.
Well, it started for me with the music, and when we first sat down, and there was a little pause early on in the music, and I was expecting it to be time in a bottle. And so the next thing I know, I'm holding this glass, looks like a vase bottle, and dancing with it, you know, kind of going around and dancing with it. And then I'm pouring, as I'm dancing, this liquid, and it's in a, it's counterclockwise, and so it's going in a spiral, and it's the elixir of life. Water, 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 water. I just finished watering little lettuce seeds for a cake. And so it's like, feels like it's growing something, and the next thing I know, it's a pinwheel. I'm holding it, it's a pinwheel, and it's a pinwheel of light, and it's sending this gorgeous, gentle breeze over me, this breeze of light. And
Thank you.
I just want to say, that feels good. Thank you.
Definitely a give and take.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Was the pinwheel going clockwise where the water was going counter? I'm just curious. Did you notice?
It felt to me like it was like all going
Because
down.
you were like, your finger went clockwise. That's why I
Oh,
was just kind
okay.
of wondering if you were
Oh, okay,
aware
my
of
fingers,
that.
no.
Okay. Just
Okay.
curious.
Anyone else want to share?
I know this was so great, it's like, no, you have something to offer too. Or not.
And you don't have to share it either, just.
For me, it started with that woman, a zillion flowers. I can't even say it. Quietly. There you go. So a zillion flowers open up right in my front yard, just scream at me God's passionate love. And, yeah, I have some little flowers everywhere. And I get to see myself dancing around, just loving on them and them loving on me. And what it kept coming to mind when you were talking about the give and take, it felt fuller going up. You know, it just not thickened, but made it all fuller.
I'm struggling with finding a desire, to be quite honest with you all.
Finding
A desire.
desire.
I go to meditate every day and I'm thinking, okay, I desire this. Well, okay, well, not, anyway, I feel so like, I love being here on earth and being alive. But I feel like I have every single thing I could ever have asked for and more. So I'm struggling with how to meditate with that, other than just saying, thank you, oh my God, thank you. I mean, that's, and I'm really trying to find, so I like that, to understand what I know. I kind of like that because there has to be something that I really, I want, but if I were to depart today, I think I would say to that angel that came for me, I've been waiting for you, because I feel complete, and I don't trust it. There you go.
Well, I
It's
have
like,
I have
I
a
don't trust
a
it.
thought for you. Instead of trying to figure out and think of what you desire, just put out the question, what is it that desires you? What's longing for you?
Me. I'm yours.
And we're gonna do in a little bit, there's two more sides of this practice, and one of them fits right with that. So it doesn't have to be a desire based on something you lack or you need to feel complete. I've said this before, but if you're familiar with the 10 ox herding pictures in Buddhism, the last one is someone coming into the city with this big bag on their back, and the caption is, she enters the city with bliss bestowing hands. It's like the desire is just to share this, to be a horn of plenty, to bring this bounty forth to other beings, to be we're going to talk a little later about being a catalyst, being something that helps to trigger this process in whatever and whoever that you're around, so they can have the joy of experiencing this, that they may not even know is available to them. And that's the notion of the
Is that a
Bodhisattva.
new menu now?
The notion of the Bodhisattva who has achieved nirvana could just go beyond the beyond, but they don't go because they won't go until all beings have achieved that, which will never happen, which they also know because it's never meant to happen. That's not why there's an existence. Existence is further in that way. So it's to continue to be a service to the divinity and life. So you never run out of material for that.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I'm sure everyone has that in their lives, maybe not now, but in the future or something like that, so we'll know, "Oh, I remember when this was in class, Beverly was saying it." So that's valuable, thank you.
I wrote a little poem this morning, and I don't know if it'd be better if I just type it up and email it, or if we would have time in the class.
Does it seem to fit in with what we're talking about right now, or is it a little different?
It does fit in.
Fits in? What's that?
My voice is not real strong. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Show up as you are awakening this day to the more that awaits you both at rest and at play. In the stillness of each hour, find your strength and inner power. Just take a pause to connect and be a being with purpose and integrity. In that still point, you will find the deeper knowing that does define who you are and what you could be. A human with passion and destiny. This ishq, or desire, will urge you to be your fuller self that only you can free. So listen to your heart and mind. Embrace your soul. Be respectful and kind. Yes, step forward into uncertainty and be that light that you were created to be. Aho.
Thank you, Gail.
Oh, I can't believe it. It sure did fit in. Very nice. Well, mine's a little introduction from what we did last time. To fit in. Okay, let's do this first. Okay, we're gonna take a look at what we did last time. We talked about the 3 practices, Yajami, and that was joining together, bringing everything together. So we're going to look at it as a creative process is what we're going to do. So let's say that you are doing an art project, so you need to gather things together in order to make something. So maybe ideas, pieces of paper, and lots of pictures and glue and all this stuff that you bring together, okay? But it could also be many other things that are creative. But there's one. And then Yajami means calling it together, bringing it together. Then Yabasir was the one we added last time. Basir, B-A-S-I-R, is seeing deeply, or seeing with different eyes now. We were talking about this kind of seeing, so that now we have all the materials put together, but then the artist's eye takes a look at all these things and says, oh, I want this one, and you just feel from inside that these go together, and you know what you're going to do with them. This is clear now. It's become clear, and it's not just a bunch of stuff. All right, so that's the second part of the process. And then Yakayum, remember that one? That was the essence that's distilled from something. So then, let's say that now you have created, let's say it's a card. Gail and I sometimes make cards together. And so here's a card, and you know, we put it on the backing and set it out there, and somebody comes and they go, oh my gosh, this is what I was just thinking. How could this happen? Or like, or the completeness that you feel from creating something is there. It's this essence. So I wanted to elaborate those different steps from last time, and maybe they'll come into your vision as you're continuing this week, let's say, and you're saying, oh, I'm gathering these things together. Maybe I'm moving to a new place and I'm putting all these things in a box and they're going to somewhere else, and now I see, oh, I know where this could go. I know how this could make a beautiful room. And then sitting in the room and feeling that this has settled into something, a blessing, let's say, And you say, I bless all those who come into my home, and this is what I can use. So do you all have those wazifas? Do you know what they are? Ya Jami, Ya Basir, Ya Qayyum.
How do you spell the first one?
Jami. I think we need to do it a couple times, so.
Yeah, I need to see it in writing in order to get it in my brain.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else like that?
Me too.
Yeah.
I can
We can send
to
it
you.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please, that would be
Right.
great.
But let's make it
Yeah,
right
let's
now.
do it.
So this could even be, we're thinking of all of us and bringing us together and that light that unites us, and then finally an essence that we take with us. So we're going to do each one 7 times. I'll tell you when it's time to go on. So we'll begin with Ya Jami. 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 One more time. Ya Jami. So that was gathering together. Now Ya Basir, seeing deeply, seeing with the eyes of the divine and our own eyes. Ya Basir. Ya Basir. Ya Basir. Ya Basir. Ya Basir. Ya Basir. One more. Ya Basir. So now we had some insight, and everything is illumined in this light, and we see how they go together. And the last is Ya Qayyum, Qayyum, the essence. The essence has been distilled and is like a grace, it is like a blessing that comes through what has been created. Ya Qayyum, Ya Qayyum, Ya Qayyum, Ya Qayyum, Ya Qayyum, Ya Qayyum. One more. Ya Qayyum. Let's just sit with it for a moment. Amen.
So I mentioned 4 different directions of desire. We're going to save the other 2 for next time because I think they'll go with that. But moving on, I want to talk about the idea of being a catalyst. A catalyst in chemistry is something that enables a reaction to take place but it's not used up. So your car has a catalytic converter in it. So we can become like being a catalyst, enabling this process of alchemy to be triggered around us, but we're not depleting ourselves. We're not just using up our energy for it to happen. It becomes a natural state of being. But in order for this process of alchemy to happen on a very deep level, it takes place through the relationship between our manifest self and, we could say, the divine aspect of our being. Even Arby would say our personal Lord, or our personal angel, that relationship with the transcendent and the manifest. There has to be a circulation of the light in both directions, like we did with the pour upon us thy love and thy light. But it's not just down, up. It's always interplaying both directions with each other. And all the light is transforming all the light all the time in both directions. So it's never the same descending light, it's never the ascending light. And so what do we put into the hopper, so to speak, for alchemy to take place? We've talked about the notion, the Sufis say there's a new creation born at every instant. The physicists say that time is not continuous, it's these unimaginably brief intervals, and then the next one, and the next one. And so in this in-between, which could be arbitrarily brief, there has to be a coming together of these 2 sides. And what comes up from our end? Well, what doesn't come up is just our usual frame of reference and our concepts about what's going on and our emotional responses and so on. What comes up is the qayyum, the perfume, the essence of everything that we've experienced in our existence to date comes up into this meeting place. Sufis call it the barzakh, B-A-R-Z-A-K-H. But the divine is also putting something into the hopper. What's the divine putting into the hopper? The divine is putting into the hopper everything that the divine has known of the divine's own being uniquely through you. So both of those wisdoms are coming together in this in-between state, and while this process is happening, it's kind of like the caterpillar in the chrysalis. It's just liquid. You can't tell what's what in there, but something is taking place. So something takes place in this intermingling that neither side can possibly be aware of, because if we were aware of it, we would be in that separated state of consciousness in which alchemy cannot take place. And if the divine was aware of it, the divine would be watching a rerun of you, not how you are becoming and being. Does that make sense? It would be like the looking through yesterday's newspaper about you. So it's got to be in this in-between state where neither side can know what's going to emerge, so something can come from that. So that's what happens in this in-between state. Then you might ask, we've talked about why engage in alchemy, what are the necessary ingredients, and so on. And then you might ask the question, well, where is this meeting place? Is it, happening up there in the seventh realm of heaven? No. It's not happening in our usual notion of what the world is about. And if you think about our subtle energy centers, in every system, I think there's a heart center. It may have different names. In Sufism, there's like 3 different aspects of the heart center. In the Tree of Life, in the Kabbalah, the midpoint is called Tifereth. And Tifereth is the place, if you look at a diagram of the Tree of Life, there's all these lines crossing each other, but they all meet in Tifereth, going down and crosswise and so on. So the heart is the meeting place between what we could think of as the divine, the transcendent, and the manifest. So alchemy has to take place in the heart. Okay, well, what does it mean to be in the heart space? Well, what are some signs that you're in your heart? Well, we all know this. We may not have thought about it in this way. When you're in a state of openness, when you're in a state of receptivity, when you're in a state where you're feeling just a tremendous love or compassion, or it could be creativity. You're in this state, which is an expansive state, but you're in this expansive state because you're in a place where there's an intermingling of 2 different realms, so to speak, the transcendent and the manifest, and something's born from that could not take place from what we think of as God up there, and it could not take place from what we think of as us down here. It only can take place through the coming together of those 2 sides, and then something being born from that. You want to say something?
No, you're going good.
Okay. So I'll flip the page here.
You do practice, I bet.
Let's see. So this is something I wrote yesterday after Diane and I had a conversation. Every soul embodies a unique modality of relationship. Each soul was created by a unique prayer of the divine, with the divine not knowing what the fulfillment of that prayer would be. Alchemy can only occur by virtue of our relationship with whatever we are experiencing, whether in manifestation or with the transcendent aspect of our being. Each soul has a unique recognizability, independent of the realm in which the soul is experiencing, or the vehicle, this is one vehicle, our physical body, that the soul takes on to function in any particular realm. The alchemical process of transformation cannot occur solely from the level of our manifest self, nor can it take place from the transcendent aspect of our being. It can only occur by means of the interplay of the descending and the returning light that is always taking place. Alchemy takes place in the in-between of our previous state of being and what will emerge from the interplay of these two directions of light. It requires us to let go of any preconceived notion of what will emerge, at the same time being open to new possibilities. And I'm going to give kind of a humorous, simple example of this. I was doing our shopping at HEB yesterday, and I'm checking out with this cart full of groceries, and they're getting ready to finish loading stuff into the basket, and the woman behind me just says, "I see you have some artichokes." So usually people don't talk much to either. So I turned to her, and I said, "Yeah," and she says, "I remember one time I was having dinner with a friend, and I had my 3-year-old along with me, and they served artichokes, and he'd never seen one before. And he looked at that, and he said, 'What the hell is this?'" And it just totally transformed the whole thing. I mean, it was funny, but I was mindful as this woman was talking to me. I was thinking, well, here's a great opportunity to do alchemy on the fly, what we've been talking about. I'm going to, instead of just thinking, when's this woman going to be done so I can get out of here, I just really opened up to her and just was really not preconceiving what she was going to say. And then because I was so open, it was such a delight. I mean, thinking about it now just makes me laugh and smile. This little kid, what the hell is this? And so here was a moment of alchemy in the checkout line that was very natural. So alchemy, I want to say, is a very natural process. It helps tremendously to do a lot of practices, which we've done in here, and if you're with any spiritual tradition, you probably work with many practices, but that's helping to untrain us from the way that we've known and looked at things before. So we can step into something that's different from the way that we thought it would be. And Hosmer Khan said spirituality is the process of becoming a natural human being. So what's a clue that you're in this state of alchemy? It feels very natural. There's a sense of ease. If you're talking to a friend and you're both in this state, words just come and you don't know what you're going to say next, and each of you probably finds yourself saying things that you never had thought of before and you wouldn't have thought of and couldn't have been able to have thought of, except for this interplay of light between you and the other person. And that's always available to us. So that's one point I want to make about creativity, which is a whole wonderful topic in and of itself. And it's certainly very valuable to give yourself time to engage in whatever creative activity makes you feel the most you. That's one way of helping you bring about this state, but you can't probably do that all the time. I mean, you got to go grocery shopping and all those other things, but you always have available to you in every moment the opportunity just to make the little tiny shift in your mind and go, okay, let me open up to some possibility here that I didn't foresee, and just wait and see. And so one of the hallmarks of that? Surprise. You know, what comes you weren't looking for, but it's wonderful.
And it maybe isn't about you and somebody else, but you and creation. I had the 3 words that we were working at here, the wazifas. I have to work to keep these in my mind. I don't know. It's not easy for me to keep them. But the other day I wrote those down, and I thought, well, maybe it'll be helpful right here, and I've set it down in somewhere. I have 3 rooms that I work in, so it could have been any one of those rooms, but I was working on this, and I thought, where do I have those somewhere? And my hand was like almost touching them, and I turned, and I had the 3 words that I needed. So I was, that kind of clicking where you think, it's like something's alive in here, something's listening to me, and so something, just what he was saying was what I wanted to show, that it could be just you bopping around on your own too.
And that's a wonderful example of Sometimes you find what you're looking for when you stop looking for it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're never going to find it if you keep looking for it because you've got the wrong eyes on. You're not going to get it.
I'm always looking for things.
So this is a notion of surrender, but not the old, I shouldn't say old, but traditional notion of surrender is you just disappear yourself and you're not there but just God. No, you are important in the equation here, and if you're not there, what you think of as God's never going to be satisfied with what comes from that, because God can't be something separated up there. Remember what I said about you can't do alchemy if you're in a separated state of being? Well, neither can God. If this relationship isn't going on, nothing can happen. You got old
This is
news.
heavy duty stuff right here.
Old news is going to happen. So if you want some magic to happen, just allow yourself to enter into something that is your most natural state of being, which you have forgotten long ago. You probably knew this when you were a child, but kids don't think about what they're experiencing. I remember when I was 4, and actually I took delight in this because it was the first time I realized I could think about what I'd been experiencing. I mean, before I was just so totally in the moment of things, kids don't think about it. And that was a good thing. It's good to be able to do that, but it's also good to not do that when you don't need to be doing that. So,
Can you tell me one more time? I got lost in the last little statement there. What you could be.
if you're trying too hard for something to take place, then it's almost certain that you are in a separated state of consciousness trying to make something happen that can't happen. You can't have the desire, and it can be a genuine desire. It could be a desire for deep wisdom, but you're not going to get it if you're still in the old frame of reference based on the way that you've always gone about knowing what there is to know. It won't happen.
Like there's a back door that it's going to come to you.
Well, there's the door is always open, but you have to be in the state of I'd say the pass key. It's not exactly a password. The necessary condition for that door to open is you can't be separated from what's on the other side. You can't be thinking, I wonder what's over there, and if I open the door, I'll see it. It's the rest of you on the other side, which is the rest of everything. But you've got your unique plug-in to what all that's about.
Good koan.
Yeah, good comment. One other thought I had this week was if you think about solar panels that a lot of people have on their houses, and if you put enough of those on, you might be able to generate enough electricity to run everything, and you don't have to pay AEP anything because you've got all that you need. Well, that's great, but even better, if you're generating more electricity than you need, you can put it back into the grid. You actually can get some money for it, but the metaphor for this is we can become capable of not just staying even, getting in balance, being in harmony, being in a nice place, not getting devastated by what's going on, but we can get into a state where we have such an abundance of life and energy that is naturally flowing through us. We're not trying to make anything happen. We're not trying to go, well, I'll give some to you, and you're just being yourself. But in that state, so much more becomes available. And I know we've all had the experience of sometimes being around certain people that just feels so good to be around them. And they're not trying to do anything. It's just the nature of their being, that you come into resonance with them, and briefly you're in this state where all this additional energy and light and whatever becomes accessible to you. So the world needs this. This is what's going to change things from the pretty dire state that things are in right now. It's not, I'm going to qualify what I'm going to say, it's not going to happen solely from a bunch of individuals doing what they think they should be doing. However, they should keep doing that because that's a necessary ingredient, but it's not a sufficient one. You see the difference? Necessary, but not sufficient. To get over the tipping point, because things are so polarized, there's going to have to be such an outpouring of a higher vibration into the collective consciousness that it's going to have an effect on many, many other beings. They're going to, not even thinking they're trying to do that, but it's just going to cause them to come into alignment with a different way of looking at things than they had before. They're going to, as we say, see the light.
As you say, what?
See the light.
Yeah.
And that's what it's going to take to bring about transformation in the world. So I've said this so many times, our spiritual journey of awakening is not for our benefit. It certainly benefits us, but that's not the real deep purpose of it. It's a service to everything. It's a service to all of existence. So if we're wondering, well, what desire should I have? If you don't have one, you can always take this one. I would like to be of service to divinity awakening in life. You'll never run out of things to be.
And it's fun.
It's fun. And it doesn't
Have
cost
fun.
you.
It's not like,
Yeah, you don't get
terrible.
depleted from it. You don't get drained from it.
So when we talk about the different states in the alchemy, he's talking about Negredo, which is the most conflict, the most difficult, challenging situation. It's pretty good right now as far as being challenging, it seems to be. So here we are in the crucible right now and getting teachings on it and being with people who are loving you and supporting you in what you're doing. And nobody can do it for you, but we certainly can harmonize and play this over and over again.
Well, and one comment, I'm glad you said crucible, about the crucible. It takes, and this goes to Jami, gathering in everything that's going on. Not just, I'm going to take in all the things I like, I'm not going to put any of this. Everything that's going on, the polarity, the negativity, and all that, all these are necessary ingredients for this process of transformation to take place. You can't make it happen if you think you can just take the good stuff and shove more good stuff against the bad stuff. It will not
Or help
happen.
these people, but not these people.
Yeah. So I think this is a good place to stop here. We'll do the group thing. So we have one more of these next week, the fourth one. So hold on a second.